It's December and the human reformulation processes have begun. We have a lot of exciting things to talk about today. Such an incredible time that we're in right now. I'm going to start with the Metatron information that came in last month and tell you about how we've gotten to this point and how those frequencies kind of have set a path to getting to this point. Then we're going to talk about some work I'm doing right now with the Galactic Center beings, and that is specifically an accelerated version of the human reformulation process. And we'll just talk about how this is playing out for people, how it might be coming up for you, and what you might be able to expect in the next month, coming months around all of this. I'm Paige, energy healer and channel, and this is your December energy update. Please do take a moment to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content, and do hit that little bell to be notified when new content is available. So let's begin with Metatron. I'm going to go back to not just last month's frequencies, but we're going to go all the way back to July, and we're going to look at the path we've taken to get to this point, which has become increasingly more intensive and increasingly more focused on the reformulation process, which we wouldn't have known back in July that was what was coming. But now when we look back, you can really see how these pieces came together. Now, I am talking about the Metatron frequencies that came in the Insight Timer meditations that I do every month. You can find all of those here on my channel. So if you want to go back and listen to some of the ones that you missed, you'll receive the frequency when you do, and they are all here. They also all include in the description the frequencies that came in and the bigger theme that was coming through for each month. So let's go back and look at those. So going all the way back to the month of July, we had the theme of the expansion of higher aspects of the self. And this was really about finding your higher expression. Now, we've talked about that quite a bit over the last couple of years, and that had been kind of the guiding principle in this process of transformation that we've been in. In fact, Metatron had repeated over and over to look to the heart, to lead, listen from your heart, speak from your heart, communicate everything from your heart, and let your heart be the guiding force that creates the new vision and that creates the new you that you want to step into. So we had been getting that preparation really for the last couple of years. In July, it was kind of being repeated. However, we were already in a moment at that point of restructuring that had come in for the last, let's say, 2 or 3 months before that, restructuring of light patterns. So that was really about our light body being able to restructure and being able to express these higher aspects of the self. And remember that the heart is the portal for the soul. So that's where your soul's expression comes through. So moving to August, then we had the theme of oneness with an emerging field of higher consciousness. As each individual is finding their own higher expression, then we can all move together into a higher field of consciousness. We have to have that individual expression, higher expression, to be able to even have a field that we can collectively move with. So at that state in August, we were moving to a field of higher expression. Then in September, we had a lot of emphasis on time, and this is where the focus on time became very strong. It's come up here and there, but as of September, it really became a strong focus. And the theme was being freed from the constraints of time. And time expanding into infinite fractals. And they were talking about time as a state of consciousness. You know, if you were to think about a state of consciousness and then think about that state being fractalized, expanding out into a million different little spirals. That's what's happening with time as we are shifting away from the way we have understood and experienced time. So you may find that you've been experiencing time differently since about September. You'll be finding that you are moving into moments of compressed time, moments of expanded time. And again, this is a theme that's been going on, but it's different now. And you should be feeling that it's a little different than what it was before. Moments of expanded time might feel like you're in a little bubble and time suddenly doesn't exist. You might have a lot more difficulty keeping track of time and days and schedules and those kinds of things. But you also might feel like, you blinked and half an hour went by. So time is just changing. Okay, so then we move into October. In October, we had the merging with interdimensional light. Now remember, this was all in this pathway moving us towards the reformulation process. So the merging with interdimensional light was about light coming in that is interdimensional in nature and is able to express simultaneously in different dimensional states. And that light was being absorbed into our light bodies. And as we incorporate that light, that gives us the ability to express in different dimensional states simultaneously. And what that means, if you think about it, if you're preparing for a bigger process where you are reformulating completely and moving into a higher expression of the human, you would have to have the ability to be in two states at once, because it isn't something that happens overnight. It's a gradual process of change. So we have to be able to express as we have been and in the new higher states. Okay, so that takes us to November. This is last month. And last month's theme, and this is, again, these are the Metatron frequencies. Last month's theme was the new human imprint. So the focus was on giving structure to the new human imprint that is neither bound by time nor constrained by the limitations of past expressions. And the specific frequencies were about the ability to transcend time, increasing our capacity to withstand fluctuations in light currents. So meaning being able to remain stable while we are in a state of flux. Because again, we kind of move back and forth. It's sort of flux and flow in these changes. They're energetic shifts. So it isn't like you just take a step and you stay there and you take a step and you stay there. It is gradual, but there is a lot of flux and flow and a lot of shift and change in the light currents and a lot of shift and change in your light body. So this was about increasing your capacity to withstand those fluctuations. And then the creation of a higher geometrical order that solidifies at a higher state the changes that we are going through. So that is where we are right now. And what this means is that we have arrived at the moment, the crux of what we've been building towards for the last few years. When we keep talking about our awakening process, our ascension process, how humanity is shifting to a higher expression, this is what it's all about. It is this change to a new type of human. And now we are in the process of stepping in to that new human. But it isn't something that happens overnight. It's a process. It's a process of change. So this is going to continue, but the reformulation processes have begun. So I'm going to go ahead and shift to talking about the galactic center beings, because they had a message specifically about this. Okay, so again, going back to October, this was the first time that the galactic center beings came in with a public message. I've been working with them since February of 2023, but they weren't ready to go public yet. They've been coming into the Metatron channeling, so you've felt their energy there, but they weren't coming in large numbers. And now they have decided they want to work with individuals, and they are doing the work themselves. And this is an incredibly evolved group. I talk more about that on my email list. So I'll put a link in the description below so you can join that to find out more about them and what they're bringing, what they're offering. So in October, they said, you are being reformulated. Your DNA and biological components are transforming into a new type of human. This follows the energetic shifts that are taking place within humanity. Those who have embraced these shifts have already moved into a new formulation. So this has been going on. Those who have not will experience a different type of reformulation aligned to the amount of energetic shift they have allowed within themselves. So there is a difference. You know, we've talked about timelines quite a bit. We've talked about pushing yourself higher. This is one of the reasons to keep pushing yourself higher, keep pushing this process. You are to be recognized as a new human within the galactic structures. This recognition is coming quickly. So this is our galactic community. A couple of points to pull out are that you can still push this process. And as I've said many times, I find the most effective way to shift and shift quickly and shift to the highest possible states that you can move into is by working with channeled frequency. And I have a lot of that here on my YouTube channel, lots of recordings, so you can access those anytime. Everyone is going to move, and this is something that they've said. This is specifically coming from the galactic center beings. They've said that everyone will go through the reformulation process, whether they're trying to or not, whether they're trying to push themselves or not. So it isn't restricted only to people who are putting in some sort of effort or want this to happen. Everyone's going to go through it. The question is, where are you starting from and where are you going to end up? And that really is determined by you. That's where your influence comes in a big way. Let's talk about now. Back in October, the Galactic Center beings told me that they wanted to start working with people, and they wanted to start in December. It was like mid-October, I think, that they told me this. So this was kind of a last-minute type thing, and not usually how I like to do things. But if you're interested in this work, do join my email list, because everyone on my list found out about it. That's easy for me. What we're actually doing is an accelerated version of the human reformulation process, and they've said it's about 100 times more accelerated than what you would be doing if you were to do nothing and just allow the process to happen on its own. A lot of benefit to this process, more than I can go into here really with all the details, but I'll start by saying that there are two primary changes that are happening. The first of those is the activation of latent DNA. The second one is activation of 5 energy systems that have essentially been offline for us for thousands of years, and they're coming back. And that's really exciting, especially for anyone who does energy work. Tremendous potential in both of those things, the DNA and the energy systems. Let me read you a quote from the Galactic Center. This is for the month of December. What they said is, the expansion of time has brought you to an intersection with the future of your species. And that means our future expression. It's for this reason that we begin the work of the human reformulation. This overlap creates an opportunity to step outside of time and into a space free of constraints so that your changes occur at a quantum pace. This is the accelerated process that I just mentioned. And this explains why we can do this accelerated process. And it's because of, and this is kind of a hard one to grasp, but it's the intersection of new expanded states of time with our future. So essentially we are bumping up against our future as it's already set out for us. In that intersection, it creates an opening for tremendous change at a quantum pace. If you're interested in the email list, you'll find out about it. What we're doing right now is we're holding 4 sessions in the month of December, are a week apart for integration period. In addition to, there are a lot of physical, emotional, and spiritual benefits doing this work, but they are anticipating some huge physical changes. The overall, I guess, some of those physical changes is a 60% slowing of the aging process is what they're saying. And then emotional benefits, associated with changes in the endocrine system, and then some spiritual benefits that are really around unity consciousness. Also a lot of what we would call psychic changes, changes in precognition. There's a lot there. What I've seen a lot of in my sessions lately is preparation for these processes. Whether these people are doing the human reformulation process with me or not, what I'm seeing in my sessions is that they're being prepared in one way or another. And this tends to happen on the higher aspects of the energy system. Various levels of the energy system opening up and changing in patterns, deep old patterns releasing. Anything that would have kept them in the same place is releasing. So here's what you might expect to feel for yourself. First of all, you're probably experiencing these shifts in time in some way. So just start noticing that, don't blow it off or discard it immediately if something seems weird or different to you. Just note it, that you're experiencing something differently. And I would say that also applies to all kinds of shifts that you might be experiencing right now. Make a note of those, because they're not just by chance. This is all part of a much bigger process that's happening. So think about your own perceptions of things. Your sensory perceptions may be changing. Again, how you might be seeing things differently or perceiving differently. That's always big in these shifts. You also may be tired. You may be feeling more tired than usual, and you may even feel exhausted or fatigued, depending on your usual energy levels. You do want to give yourself plenty of rest. Your body needs downtime. It needs time to integrate changes as you go through these changes. And one thing that's really important right now is being open to what might be changing in you. We have a tendency, especially if you're not very aware of changes as they happen. You may not be very connected to your emotions. You might have a tendency to brush things aside or to stuff them down, right? People who know that they stuff down emotions. You don't want to do that right now. And you may find that a lot of big patterns are coming to the surface, or you might be getting a glimpse of those patterns. They may feel like they're changing a bit. And you want to be open to those changes. You want to have an idea in your mind of how you would like to feel on a regular basis, how you would like to be expressing on a regular basis, what you would like your life to look like, all of these pieces. Because as you shift, that's what you're taking into the new expression. So think about that and really give it some thought, because now is the time. What do you want your new expression to be like? What do you want your life to be like? How do you want your relationships to be? What kind of work do you want to be doing? How do you want to feel in all of these areas? That can be a guiding principle for you. And think about your heart's expression. And one final thing I'll say about the heart that's also really important right now in December is that Metatron's mentioned many times that we were in an evolution of the heart. And Metatron started talking about that back in October of 2023. That was driving this change that we're in. It was the piece that was going on under the surface, oftentimes quietly, but it's also why we kept getting the message to focus on the heart, speak from the heart, act from the heart, design from the heart. That evolution of the heart is peaking for most people right now in the month of December, which is why the Galactic Center beings wanted to begin their work, their human reformulation process in December. So that's also quite big. So notice your heart in December. How is your heart showing up in your life? I've talked about this before, and I don't mean this in a cheesy way. I mean, the heart is your biggest source of strength. It's your source of courage. It's what lifts you up. It's how you stand up for what you believe. That's all in your heart. Think about your heart in all of these areas that I've talked about. The heart's expression. Is it coming through? Are you speaking from your heart? Are you speaking your truth? Are you acting from your heart? All of this is really important. Okay, that's what I have for you this month. Thank you for listening. I hope that you have a wonderful month. Enjoy all of your holidays, and I'll see you in the new year.